Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, my name is LJ and you're watching NoClutch Garage. And today is a really nice cloudy day, perfect for working on my car. So I'm actually going to upgrade my whole fuel system today on Nightmare. Anyway, as you guys already saw, I made a video on the high pressure fuel pump that I installed on my friend's 340i. Well, I have the fuel pump back, so I'm going to install it on my car, and I'm not going to show that whole process because I already showed it on that video. And my engine is very much the same. There's nothing different about it, so I'm not going to show that process. However, I am going to show how I do my low pressure fuel pump that I got from Vader Solutions. So if you guys were wondering if there is a low pressure fuel pump option for these cars, there absolutely is. So Vader Solutions came up with a low pressure fuel pump. I was actually the first person they reached out to. They had one that they were kind of beta testing, and you know, everything turned out well on their side. So they contacted me and they told me they had one for me and they could make right away. They went ahead and made it. So as you guys know, we have something called the high pressure fuel pump and something called the low pressure fuel pump. The high pressure fuel pump is over on the engine side of things, and the low pressure fuel pump sits in the tank. So this is the pump that sits in the tank. As you can see, it looks OEM because it pretty much is, but it's got dual pumps in there. And so what we're using is going to be using the stock pump, which is already very healthy and it is a very strong pump, and then tack on the DW300 pump in addition to it. And that's pretty much the equivalent of a Worldboro 450. It's about the same capacity. So this is considered a stage 3 pump and dual pumps, but they're very strong dual pumps, good for about 1,000 horsepower. So we're going to be installing this today. I'm going to show you how to do it. I don't have the tool to remove the ring that sits on top of the tank, so we might have to figure that out without the tool. But the steps are actually pretty easy. I think the hardest part is going to be trying to figure out how to wire the hop switch that's going to lead all the way to the front of the engine. So let's figure this out together, and let's go ahead and get this done. And before we go any further with this installation, I actually want to show you how the harness is going to work, because there is a harness that comes with this and it's kind of complicated if you don't know what you're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So I'm kind of setting this up in relation to the car, and that's all the wiring. So what we would need would be the low pressure fuel pump, which will be attached to that, and I'll show you how to do that. And then that will be plugged up to that cable, which will lead to the battery. And so we will connect it somewhere on the battery, and then we have this cable that will attach right here. We will run it through the inside of the car and through the firewall at the engine, bring it all the way around to the front, and it will end right here. And this, if you saw my video of my boost reference spacer for my electronic boost controller, then you saw that we left this place open down here, which is just a tap into the throttle body. And so that's where we will attach this thing right there. So it's pretty straightforward, but you know, if you didn't know any better, it probably wouldn't be. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. It looks cloudy. I'm not sure if it's gonna rain or not, so let's try to get this done. So first thing you want to do when you get inside, your low pressure fuel pump is going to be directly under your rear seat. The low pressure fuel pump had been disconnected before, but essentially what you want to do is you want to pull up on each side, and that'll unlock the seat, and then you just pull it up. Make sure you bring your seat belt fasteners through, and you can just pull it right out. And then we're going to bring this whole seat out. I'm going to put it inside and then come back. If you have the seat that has the heating rear seats, if you have that option, just be careful with these connectors. Make sure you disconnect everything that needs to be disconnected. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the seat from here. This one side. And then we're going to disconnect the other side. Right over here, it's going to be the same process. Just press down and pull back. And there you have it. All right, once you have the seat off, you're going to be lifting this up, and that's where we'll find the cover. Now, this has 5 nuts that you need to take off, and they're made out of plastic, so you got to be careful with them. But most of these I already took off. Just make sure you remove them and put them somewhere safe, and then you can pull this back. and you'll see the pump is right there, and we have that ring that I was talking about, and then we have the connectors, and we're gonna be disconnecting all of this to pull this out. All right guys, and at this point I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my GoPro and give you a first-person view of how to do all of this. All right guys, and at this point you might want to get some gloves because you don't want fuel all over your hands. All right, so now I got my gloves on and we can go ahead and start. And we're gonna go ahead and try to get this. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and disconnect this cable right here, and you just press in right there and then pull. And just like that, you have this disconnected. You can just leave it right there. So you're gonna push in, and then you push into the white tab and then pull it out. Oh my god, I got some of that in my eye. The 85 burns. Let's clean all of this off. If you get some of this fuel in your eye, definitely wash your eye out. Alright, so now that's kind of cleaned off. The next part, and the part that's actually gonna be kind of hard for me anyway, is gonna be to take this ring off, because this ring is what holds the pump down. So I don't have the right tool for this, which would usually involve getting these two together or something like that and then spinning it. So we're gonna try a few things and see what works. All right, let's try this. Woo, guys, that took entirely way too long to do that, but I finally got the ring off. And so now we can take off the fuel pump. I'm gonna tell you what, there is a tool that BMS makes to remove this. Super easy. And I thought about buying the tool a while back, and then I got busy and I forgot to buy it. But it makes this super easy. It literally took me 30 minutes to 45 minutes to try to hammer this out. And if you don't have the tool and you need to use a chisel to hammer this out, you have to go on each one of these and then just slowly just hammer them out, and eventually it'll be loose enough and it'll pop off. But I highly recommend the tool. I'm gonna link it down in the description down below, and you guys should definitely get it if you plan on doing the low pressure fuel pump upgrade. All right, now that we finally have this off, kind of want to move that to the side. Make sure your working space is somewhat clean. You don't want any of that dirt going into the fuel tank. And then down here, we're gonna have to do some unplugging before we take this off. And I'll show you exactly what that's like. Once you have managed to get the pump out of the tank, the thing we're gonna have to unplug is going to be this little pipe right here. This one. All right, and the way this is gonna come off is this is actually held by, you know, one of these little brackets or little teeth holds it in place. You're gonna want to push that in. Just like that, it's released. There is one connector that goes to it that leads up here. Make sure we unplug that connector. So if you look closely, you can see the pin, or the, not the pin, but the little safety thing. So press that in with a flat head or something. There we go. And that's unplugged. Now our pump is off, and this still has a lot of fuel in there. And here we have the stage 1 pump next to the stage 2 pump. So you can see this only has 1 pump and this has 2. All right, now we're gonna take our new pump and we're gonna go ahead and reconnect everything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I am going to go ahead and connect this little plug that we took off earlier on the old pump. So we're gonna plug it in. just like so. And we're gonna go ahead and plug in this pipe, this fuel line. Alright, now it's connected and we get to put this whole pump back inside. It's a little bit tricky, not gonna lie. Kind of have to twist it in a little bit. Just be mindful of the O-ring that sits at the top. You don't want to damage that. We're just gonna slowly make our way down. Before we completely close up the fuel pump, I do recommend that you plug in the actual plug that goes onto the harness. We're gonna want to guide this cable through this rubber. We're gonna get a utility knife, which I have right here, and we're just gonna make a small incision across. There we go. There we go. So now I'm going to take these leads and we're going to stick them through. The way we're going to plug this in is it has two leads. One of them's positive, one of them's negative, right? And if you look right here on the pump, on the bottom, you have a red cable and a black cable. And for example, the red cable is going to lead right here. We're going to go ahead and put our red cable right in here, right? Now, why do we want to do this before we close it up? Well, if you close it up, you won't know which one's red, which one's black, because it doesn't say anything on top about it. So we definitely want to get that done before we completely seal the fuel pump. And so the black one go right here. So now you have your red, your positive, and your negative leads, and we can go from there. All right, here we go. Let's finish this up. So now we have our leads in place. So now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to push the pump in. We want to make sure that everything inside is good and, you know, the lever is floating freely and everything, which it should be. Put this in place. We're going to grab our ring and put it through. There we go. And we're gonna go ahead and give it a little turn just to try to set it in place. So now we're gonna do what we did to take it off, but now to tighten it back up. So what I was doing is, I don't know if you can see right here, but I was hammering that way to take it off. So now we're gonna hammer in this way to put it back in. You can see the ring is moving into locking position, which is what we want. So I'm just going to keep hammering from here. You might have to go at it from multiple angles and multiple ones of these to try to get all of them inside. Putting it in is going to take a while also. It's just something that's going to have to happen if you don't have the right tools. Alright, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to take these and we're going to tighten them up. And in case you were wondering, these are 8mm nuts. Last thing we're going to do, we're going to take our connector, make sure it's on there good. And now we can close this. Remember, these are 10mm and they're plastic nuts, so just be careful with them. It means you don't need to torque them a whole lot. And then the last thing we're going to do, grab this and connect it, tuck it away, get this in place. and we're done. All right guys, I'm ready to get this installation over with. It has taken me forever to do this, mainly because I couldn't take that ring off. I did want to say huge shout out to Vader Solutions for this, and you know, making an offering for the B58 platform. It's great. We're gonna be testing this very, very soon, but this is plug and play. Once you plug it in, you can forget about it, and you'll have, you know, the increased flow of the low pressure fuel pump to supplement the high pressure fuel pump, which means that you can probably increase your overall horsepower output substantially because you'll be providing more fuel to the high pressure fuel pump. But we're gonna test all of those theories and the power gains later on. All right guys, right now I'm going to show you how to get the harness that goes to the battery, from the battery to the pump, through, so that you can easily connect it once you have put the pump in. So we're going to have to put the seat down. So you pull on this lever, that's going to pop the front seat, and then that goes down. And we're actually going to want to remove this side panel, and the side panel is easily removable. Just pull and then pull off. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab the line that goes to the battery from the pump. We're going to grab it, and we're going to, there's a kind of like an opening in here. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and grab your cable and kind of route it through. And that route is actually the same route we're going to take to bring in the cable that's going to connect to the hop switch. So just keep that route in mind. It's actually really simple. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take this cable and connect it to the battery leads. Now remember, before you do anything with the electrical system, you're going to want to unplug the battery. And so that's what I just did. It's a 10mm socket you're gonna need to undo that nut, and you can unplug it. And then we're gonna find a place to hook those wires to in order to get our connection to the pump. So the positive end connection we're actually gonna use is gonna be this one right here. We're gonna be undoing that nut and connecting this cord with the fuse right here. And then for the negative side, we're just going to be connecting directly onto that nut right there. All right guys, so let's go ahead and do this. So we just quickly take the nut off with the 10mm, and then we're gonna go ahead and stick our connection cord through here. Just route it through the back just because I think it looks cleaner. And we're gonna go ahead and tighten it back up. All right, it's real tight in there. Find a way to kind of keep all these cords organized, and go ahead and stick it down here like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and route this under. I'm gonna have it sit right there, and I'm gonna have this routed through the bottom also. Like I said, I just want to clean up the look a little bit. We can have a little washer or something right here to hold this in place, make it look nice and neat, or we could even put it over there if you wanted to, but I like this spot a lot better. The next thing is going to be plugging this negative side in, and we're just going to plug it directly right there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and all right guys, once we have taken that off, we can go ahead and put in our lead. All right, and now I have put the cable in. Currently my daughter found my channel, so she's watching me. but we're gonna go ahead and tighten everything back up. All right, once you have your battery lead connected, we're gonna go ahead and guide the hop switch cable through the same place where we guided the cable that's going to the fuel pump. And as you come to the back, like we look in here, we're gonna be able to find it and just bring it through. Now we have it right here, and we can connect it right in our connector. There we go. It seems like my battery screw was bent, so I couldn't screw it in, and it stripped the inside of the nut. So we're gonna replace it with something temporary until I can get the right screw. So I found a square nut and a small screw, so we're gonna go ahead and just use that. All right, now that we got that backside done, the way we're gonna want to do this is we're gonna want to actually route this cable through these side panels all the way up to the front. So I'm gonna try to give you the best angles I can, and actually I'm gonna give you a first-person view of that so you can kind of follow along. All right, so the way I'm going to approach this, I'm gonna go ahead and try to release this plastic piece right here, and you do that by unfastening this little piece. And we're gonna go ahead and, I don't want to totally remove it, so I kind of just want to grab the cable, give it a little bit of slack, and kind of tuck it in. Removing the pieces altogether is just a lot of work because it's all connected with little brackets, and it just becomes really difficult to put it back in, so I'd rather not do that. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of tuck. So we're gonna go ahead and push this all the way through to the front, and let's go ahead and go to the front. I'm gonna go ahead and replace this. So let's go ahead and bring the cable through. So let's go ahead and tuck all of that in. Bring it in, and this is where it's going to get a little bit trickier. We're going to have to go underneath the firewall and get this cable through. So let's go ahead and do that. By the way, guys, bonus knowledge if you didn't know this, you know how we have a cigarette lighter right there, right in the middle? We also have one right here. Right underneath the passenger footwell, in case you didn't know. So bonus. All right, guys, and to get this cable down where we need to, or up where we need to, we're gonna have to remove this panel, and this panel is actually held by two nuts that are 10 millimeters each. So we're gonna go ahead and take them off, and those are, there's one right there, and there's one back there. So let's go ahead and take them off. All right, guys, now we can pull this off. Comes off like that. Let's go ahead and unplug this, and we're gonna unplug this little guy right here, and we can go ahead and just take this off and put it somewhere else. All right, so and what we're looking at now is we're gonna look to put our cable through that particular hole right there, which is gonna also lead to the fuse box. So our goal is to get this through. You can see I've made it through. Now we can pull it off from the other side. All right, guys, and to remove the fuse box is actually pretty simple. You can do it on this side or this side, but all you need really is a screwdriver. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick your screwdriver in here and kind of pry in, and this fuse assembly is gonna come up. Now if you look in there, you can see where the cables come from right here, and that's where you're gonna be putting the hop switch cable through, and it's gonna come through here, and you're just gonna have it fit between these little spaces, because that's really the only way you can get it to work, unless you drill into the fuse box somewhere. And I really don't recommend doing that because water drains through here and you don't want any water going in there. Now on this side, I showed you how to pull this fuse box away from the actual box, and we're gonna see that we can pull this cable through, and we're gonna want to pull it all the way through. It's good that there's some slack to it. So we're gonna go back inside and we're gonna finish tucking the cable in and give it that stealth look. And we're gonna close this off later, but essentially just put the cover back on and we're done with this part. Now we gotta focus on plugging this in on the engine bay. So the issue with putting it through the fuse box is that the fuse box pretty much is a very tight compartment. So what I found to be the best thing to do is to go ahead and find one of these edges and just try to make it fit wherever there is the most space. There really isn't a whole lot of space, but you don't want to pinch the cable, and so right there the cable is still coming through. I want to make sure that the box stays in though, so you don't want it to pop back up. So this is the way I found it to work the best, and this I'm just gonna guide through here and down like that. Now the fuse box is sealed, and it's important that the fuse box stays tight because we don't want any water to get in there. So now that's coming out of the fuse box, and this cable can be routed down through here just the same way that we have our solenoid routed, and find a really good route for this. All right guys, and for some reason it didn't like me putting this boost reference sensor below the charge pipe where I had planned, so I'm gonna put it right here, right up front where I used to have my CPI, and it seems like it's gonna work fine. But the first thing I want to do before I do anything, I'm gonna grab some of this pipe thread tape and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap my threads with it just to make sure I have a good seal, since this is the charge pipe after all. I don't want to lose any kind of pressure through the charge pipe because of these attachments. If you've used this thread tape before, you kind of know how tedious it is already, but you basically want to grab your threaded side and just wrap the tape around it. Give it like 1 or 2 full turns. You don't want to put that much on there or else it won't thread, and it's very thin. And make sure that your reference is uncovered. So yeah, once you have it like that, then you can start threading in. So we start by turning it in. Once it starts getting a little bit tight, we're going to grab our 14mm wrench and just start tightening it. And that seems to be as tight as it'll go. So that part is done. And of course, all this means is that the cable that we're trying to put through the firewall is going to have to reach this little guy over here from there. I'm going to go ahead and connect it. And it's keyed, so you can't connect it the wrong way. All right, so now we have this connected, and I'm actually gonna guide it in through the middle. I think that'll be the best route. This place right here is actually kind of cool compared to the rest of the engine, so I think it'll be good for heat dissipation. So I'm gonna keep it like around right here and give it a little bit of slack, because this middle section is gonna be the best section to route it, I think, in terms of heat dissipation. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a zip tie around here. First zip tie right there. I think the other one I'm gonna put back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie it. All right, now it's in place. Zip tie it down. All right, now that that's in place, we can guide this down. I'm gonna guide it through here. So ideally, I would guide it through there. I think that's a pretty good route. And there you have it. All right guys, so obviously the last step to all of this is going to be to go ahead and connect the battery, crank the car up, and your car should be working as normal as expected. But I have a few more things that I have to do, so I'm going to keep the battery disconnected. Anyway guys, this is as thorough of an installation as I can make for this pump. It is quite complicated as far as how many steps there are and you know what you have to do to pretty much navigate through the car. It's not very hard, but there's just a lot of steps to it. So I hope that this video helps you and helps guide you, and you don't necessarily have to do it in my order. The ring on top of the pump took me forever to take off, and I'm gonna go ahead, like I said before, I'm gonna link that tool right here in the description because it's gonna make your life so much easier. So I'm gonna link the tool, I'm gonna link the pump, I'm gonna link all the other tools that I use for this. Hopefully guys, like I said before, this will help you. All right guys, this has been it for the stage 3 low pressure fuel pump installation by Vader Solutions. I hope this guide really helped you. I know that there isn't a lot of reference material to do these kinds of jobs, particularly on the 340 or any B58 car, but I'm hoping that this will be good for everybody out there doing this upgrade. Thank you for watching guys. If you like this video, go ahead, click like, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more coming, particularly because my car is heavily modded, and so there will be stuff for anybody, from people just trying to do a downpipe in a tune to people going big turbo. So go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and share this video if you find that somebody needs to install their pump or anything like that. I'm sure this will help. But other than that guys, this has been it for me. I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye.